YouTube fam, never Torpid fam, it's Torpid here, bringing you a Fire Mage guide with multi-rank 1 PHERIX, guys. PHERIX is a multi-rank 1 talented mage player, but the best part is he's a good duder magooter. When you go by his stream, he's going to be positive. You're not going to hear him much complaining. There's frustration because he's a competitor, but when you go to his stream, you're going to get uplifted. You're going to get some energy. It's a great place to spend your time, so make sure you check out PHERIX. Give him a big thank you. And for everybody watching the Fire Mage guide, we also made a Frost and an Arcane Mage guide, and we're going to be collabing in the future as well. So let us know what you want to see. Something more in depth, in detail, something we left out. Really, PHERIX can do it all, and I'm here to bring you what he'll teach me. So let us know what you want to see. We've got your back, and as always, let me know if you guys are keeping it never Torpid in the game and out of the game. What does that mean? The Never Torpid fam, my stream, is keeping it never Torpid in the game and out of the game. Torpid means lazy, sitting around doing nothing. Keeping it never Torpid is essentially never lazy in the game, making the most of it, and out of the game. So to do that, you gotta want it for yourself. And once you want it for yourself, guys, then you can truly start taking care of others. And that's the goal of everything. Thank you so much for the YouTube support. Everything that I'm doing is to help you guys, so truly just let me know what you want to see, and I'm here to help out. Let's get into the Fire Mage guide. It's absolutely insane how many instant cast Fireblast you guys are about to see. Okay, so for Fire Mage, Corrupted Gladiator PHERIX, I've got his armory here. Now, armories change depending on the player and the spec. He uses a lot of the same gear, but sometimes he might be swapping it. So this screenshot right here is the gear that he uses for fire. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit here, and you're going to be able to see every single piece of gear that he's made, every enchant on his gear, and note that he likes to use badge for fire, and we're going to talk about that later. So here's everything in one spot. Now, he's running the 4 set because he has everything else crafted, and the piece that's not part of the tier is the legs. However, for tier, 4 set is preference, 2 set is mandatory, and 4 set is preference. So if you have 2 set, you're going to be cranking, and you can do some experimenting of your own between having the 2 set and the 4 set. Let us know what you guys think. But other than that, take a look at this, compare your gear, get your character set up so that you can hit as hard as PHERIX does when he's playing Fire Mage. Okay, so you're brand new to Fire Mage. The first thing you need to know is Fire Mage is built around crit and doing large damage cycling through your CDs, which you're going to see later on. But before we get into any of that, I wanted to take you through the basic spells of fire. If you understand the spells that I have on the screen, you're going to understand everything else we talk about in the guide. So I want to keep this short and sweet, give you some basic knowledge of the Fire Mage. The first thing is Arcane Intellect is going to be your buff for yourself and your teammates, giving yourself 5% intellect. From there, you're going to be using your Blazing Barrier, which is going to put a shield around your character, which is going to absorb damage, and the melee attackers are actually going to take a little bit of damage from the fire shield. Now, you're going to look to maintain this off CD, keep the fire shield on you. It's insanely strong, and it's key to the kit. The next thing I've done is I've broken down these 3 fire spells and these 4 fire spells. So the first one is your basic Fireball. Casting Fireball to do damage to them, and then your Mastery Ignite goes on top of them. Fire Mage Mastery is an ignite burn that goes over time, and it's not too important, but of course having that extra damage is really good, but we're not going to go too deep into the mastery tree. Your next ability is Scorch, which can be cast while you're casting, and you're going to see later the uses of Scorch. And then something that is super key for this build is Pyroblast. You can see that it's a very long cast and it does big damage. However, later on, I'm going to show you how you never have to cast Pyroblast, but it's very good for you to know it in its basic form. From there, those are kind of your basic fire attacks. These 4 are the ones you're going to see a ton about in the guide. And first is Phoenix Flame. Now, Phoenix Flame automatically launches a Phoenix at the target, but it's important to note that Phoenix Flame cleaves, so it hits multiple targets. However, Fireblast only hits 1 target when cast, and it's instant, and it's also off the global, which is going to be extremely important. So you can see with my mouse here, I can cast it 3 times in a row extremely fast, which means you've got to be careful with that. Next up is Meteor, which is going to channel a Meteor, and it's going to take a second to come down and rain from above. That's going to be a big part of the guide. And then our Ring of Fire, which you're going to place a Ring of Fire, and if they're standing in the outer rim of it, it's going to be ticking them for up to 24% of their health total. You can read it down here in the toolkit. From there, your most offensive ability is called Combustion. And just like any offensive ability, when you have your Combustion go, it's going to be doing increased spell power, increased critical, and increased effect. So you're going to see Combustion weaved in with all of these abilities, but know that Combustion is the main offensive spell of Fire Mage. And then you're going to have your counter spell, which is going to be your Kick for Mage. You're going to have your Polymorph, which is your spammable CC for Mage. And then your two main defensives are Ice Block. When cast, you go into an Ice Block and can't be hit at all in this. You can recast it to get out of it. And Greater Invisibility, which not just puts you invisible, but more importantly, with the talent Greater Invisibility down here, you can see just above my webcam, that gives us a 60% damage reduction. And then 3 really key pieces of utility for Mage are Alter Time. So what Alter Time does is I can alter, and you'll see I'm altered at full health right now, and I'll take some damage from this guy. You can see my health bar here. When I alter back, I go back to the health I had when I altered. So this is a very strong utility for creatively kiting enemies because it teleports you back to where it was. You can run away from it. Or for pressing it at high health, so when they do damage to you, you can just reverse that back by recasting it. Next up is your Shimmer or your Blink. So Shimmer, you can cast Blink twice. And later on, actually, I'll show you one thing really quick. The next thing is called Shifting Power, which when this channels, you'll see it's reducing the CDs of all of our abilities. So now my Shimmer's back up, which is going to allow me to swap. You're going to see later on that we're going to have 2 talent choices, but I just want to really quickly show you for basic knowledge. The Shimmer disappeared, and now I just get 1 Blink, but this Blink works with stun. So we're going to cover that more in depth later. As long as you guys have a firm understanding of these basic abilities and what they do in their most basic form, I'm now going to take you through the burst, the damage rotation, what to do in the downtime, and how all these abilities synergize with Fire Mage, making it extremely strong and fun to play. All right, before we dive into things, it's important you have the proper talents to follow along throughout the video. So in the description below is an import string. If you don't know by now, Blizzard implemented a talent tree, and at the bottom left, you can click import, and you can import text that looks like this. It'll be the exact same below in my description. You'll copy it. You'll name it PHERIX1 and hit import. And instead of having to go back in between the video and double click my spells, you can import that code, and it'll give you the talents that we're using for the first set of rotations. All right. If you understand the passives of Fire Mage, you're really going to understand everything I'm going to show you in the rotation. So these abilities on the right, except for Pyroblast here, are all passives. And I'm going to take you through the passives of Fire Mage. Now, this is a first for me in the guides to go through the passives so in depth. But it's very important you guys understand Hot Streak. So at the bottom right, or better yet, let me just open it up onto the screen quick. So we have it in the top side of the screen. Getting 2 direct damage critical strikes in a row with fire spells. So all of your spells, if you get 2 crits in a row, will make your next Pyroblast or Flame Strike instant cast. Now, we're not going to use Flame Strike at all in any of these builds. So what's important to note, again, in Torpid terms, is your Hot Streak passive up here. When you use 2 fire spells and they both crit in a row, you get a free Pyroblast. So, and then what it's going to happen based on our other passives is our Pyroblast is going to crit, and then it's going to count as 1 tick for the Hot Streak, and then you only need to use 1 other ability before using Pyroblast again. So Hot Streak is 2 critical strikes, free Pyroblast, and Pyroblast can count as 1 of those critical strikes. If you understand Hot Streak, and I'm going to take you through this, so don't be overwhelmed, you're going to be able to really dominate on Fire Mage. Now, the other passives I wanted to cover are Critical Mass, which is your spells have a 15% increased chance to deal a critical strike, and you gain 10% more critical strikes. So With Fire Mage, we already have all the crit built in, so you don't have to worry about anything, but I want you guys to understand where everything's coming from. Fire Mind is consuming our hot streak, is going to grant us extra intellect damage. So as we're doing our hot streak rotation, we're going to gain that extra int. And Fevered Incantation is each consecutive critical strike you deal increases your critical strike damage. And we're going to show you how you're critting the entire time. So this is just another critical strike amplifier built into the passive. And then something we're going to cover later on, but one other passive you have is called Hypothermia. And when Hot Streak activates, you have a low chance to cause all Pyroblast to have no cast time. So throughout your rotation over an arena or a rated battleground, sometimes you're going to proc Hypothermia, which literally lets you cast Pyroblast 5 times in a row. It's super satisfying. So these are the passives. It's important to understand Hot Streak, and I wanted to explain the others. Now we're going to get into the burst rotation. If you keep Hot Streak in mind, you're going to be able to grasp it and get out there and dominate. Okay, guys, I'm going to take you through the burst rotation, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards, okay? So I'm going to turn my camera off, and I'm going to press all of these buttons in a very clean order for you to follow along. And I just want you to take a moment and take it all in and watch how it works out, and then I'm going to tell you about it. So let me turn my webcam off and get started. Okay, so if you missed me talking about the passives of Fire, please go check out this segment a few before this talking about the passives. But I am going to bring one back up in case you don't go backwards, and it's called Hot Streak. Now, what Hot Streak represents is that every 2 direct damage critical strikes create a free Fire Blast, okay? And what that means is with all the crit we already have built in, you're going to be critting all the time anyways. So what happens here, I'm going to just show you a quick example, is I'll press Fireblast once, Fireblast twice, and now be able to cast a free Pyroblast. But when that Pyroblast crits, it counts as one of the 2 as well. So that's why a lot of the times you'll see I have 2 Fireblasts here, and then a Pyro, and then 1 Fireblast into another Pyro, because this Pyroblast counts towards the Hot Streak. So again, Fireblast, Fireblast, free Pyro, then a Fireblast, and I can already cast another Pyro thanks to the Pyro from before, and then a Phoenix into a Pyro, okay? And if I did it a bit faster, it'll work out with your crit, especially your Combustion Go. It's always going to work out. So once you understand Hot Streak, you're going to understand the rotation of the order. The other thing that's super important to note is that Fireblast is off the global, so you can spend these really fast and it can mess you up, and you'll get a feel for this. But you can also be really strategic, and we're going to talk about this later on, how Fireblast can be used extremely strong because it's off the global. Now, Fireblast versus Phoenix Flame. Fireblast is going to do a little bit more damage. It's off the global, so it's a bit faster. And it's single target damage, so if you're playing with the rogue, you're not going to break CC. Phoenix Flames is going to be on the global, so it's a bit slower. It's going to do just a tiny bit less damage, but it also cleaves. So you see if I throw it at these training dummies, it's going to cleave them. Now that's going to break a lot of CC. So this is where I'm showing you the burst window, but you're going to keep in mind what buttons you're able to press depending on the situation, because you might not want a Phoenix Flame if your kill target is close to your CC, and you'll want to keep that in mind. Let's get our guy isolated so I can Phoenix Flame. So if you understand that, you're in great shape already. The reason we Meteor first in this build is because when you press Meteor, it's going to rain from the sky slowly, and while it's up there in the sky, you can add the amplifier. So you don't need to combust first because you want to get the Meteor down. So let's say your rogue sets the kill target up in a stun, you're going to Meteor, it's up in the sky, and I'm already going to get a pyro and everything, and then it's going to come crashing down with all the amplifiers I just built from the combust, the Fireblast, and the pyro. So that's why Meteor's used first, and this first talent string that we're talking about is the Meteor build, and it's higher burst. You're going to see I've tagged on the YouTube, this is the higher burst rotation, and it's because it has that Meteor built in. We're going to talk about the sustain build in a couple minutes, but Meteor is that extra burst you need, okay? So again, from the top, If you didn't watch the passives, watch the passives because they explain how all the crit comes together. But otherwise, simply put, your big burst window starts with a Meteor and a Combust into your Fireblast and Pyros. And then from there, you're going to be getting a feel for it. And a talent we're going to talk about later is Hypothermia. Sometimes it's a low chance you're going to be doing the burst rotation Torpid showed you, but you're going to get a Hypothermia proc, which allows you to cast Pyroblast for free, instant, for 5 seconds straight. So you might be luck out and get that proc, and you won't be Phoenix Flaming or Fire Blasting in between. You're going to be spamming your Pyros and then your Fire Blast as well after the Pyro window. So I'm going to show you a Hypothermia proc later on in the video, but it's important you guys understand that this is sort of an ideal burst window, but with Fire Mage, there is no ideal. It's all based around your hot streak and based around your Fire Blast and Phoenix. Can you cleave? Can you not? So I hope this makes sense. It makes a lot of sense when I'm explaining it to you and pointing it out. You're going to have a lot of fun because it just feels like you're hucking fireballs the entire time in the arena and in the RBG. So let's move on to the other build that we've got lined up for you guys. Okay, so your second option that PHERIX has built for you that he plays is taking away the Meteor and taking away your Rune of Power for Enchanters Flow and for Time Anomalies. So I'm going to go ahead and swap those. The import string for these are below, so you can import both of them. But just note the only changes from the high burst window to the high sustain window is the high burst window has Meteor and it has Rune of Power. The high sustain goes for Enchanters Flow. And what Enchanters Flow does is it cycles spell power. So throughout the entire lobby, your spell power is going to be going up to 20% and then back down and then back up. And it's going to be cycling, which means you're just going to have more consistent damage all the time. And Time Anomaly, yeah, perfect. It comes up on the screen above my cam. At any moment, you have a chance to gain Combustion for 5 seconds, a Fire Blast charge, or Time Warp for 6 seconds. So all three of those are extremely strong. And as a match goes on, whether it's a 3v3 or a rated battleground or a solo shuffle, Time Anomaly paired with Enchanters Flow is more sustained damage. So just to clarify, your rotation will be very, very similar, okay? The only thing we're going to be missing from the last part that I showed you is Meteor. So you're still going to have Combustion, and you're still going to have your typical double Fire Blast into Pyro, and then you're going to be able to Phoenix into a Pyro or another Fire Blast. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. You just need to know that with the consistent damage, you're going to have these 3 procs that are all insanely strong and spell power that goes on throughout the lobby. So you're going to be pumping out big damn more or less the entire lobby. You're just not going to have that crushing Meteor that comes down and really chunks them, okay? So those are the 2 differences. You can see I just procced the Time Warp, so I have 30% haste, right? That was perfect for the video. That's extra sustain. Those are the differences. Those are where you're going to be able to decide which one you prefer. Try them both out. They're both a lot of fun. If I'm being biased, I think having the burst window of the Meteor is just hilarious, just dropping that on somebody and crushing them. But it does feel really nice to get those procs and have the sustained damage and not feel too weak afterwards. So let me know in the comments which ones you prefer, but those are both of your options for playing either a high burst with the Meteor or high sustain with the Anomaly and the Enchanters. Let's get into the rest of the guide. Something when I'm learning the guides from all these great players that really makes me feel confident is it's great when somebody just tells you what your big damage window is, but you start to feel lost throughout the entirety of the rest of the game because your damage windows may last 10, 12, maybe even 30 seconds a lot of the time, but then you're a little bit lost with your direction afterwards. So I asked PHERIX to tell me about a couple different situations and what Fire Mage feels like outside of that large combust window. And here's what he's let me know, and I want to give this to you guys. So a couple stuff is going to seem pretty basic, but it's important to cover. So of course, the first thing you're doing is applying your Blazing Barrier at all times. And then your 2 different damage ideas in between your big goes are still going to be using your double Fire Blast into a Pyro. Even when you're kiting, you don't have CC out, but you want to keep that PvE damage out. as well as mixing in your Phoenix Flames to cleave, especially when they're not in CC. This is a better time to Phoenix Flame, to cleave and just apply that pressure. And then something else, if let's say you're getting close to a kill target, this is a little bit rare, but I asked him, is Scorch ever used? And Scorch with one of our talents actually becomes an execute. So if you use a lot of your juice and get them really low, keep in mind that below 35% health, Scorch, when cast twice, is going to be critting because they're going to be low HP, and it counts as an execute. So it won't work on the training dummy here because he's not low HP, but you would double Scorch, which you can do while casting, and then go into a Pyro if you're juiced and need to finish the kill. But otherwise, you're not using Scorch too often. Ideally, just like all the mage classes we've been talking about, you're really not looking to get locked out, and the only way you're going to get locked out is by casting. The other two things you're doing are weaving in your Ring of Fire. Ring of Fire does a ton of damage, okay? So dropping your ring onto your opponents when you have cross CC is great. Using that to kite, nobody's going to want to run through it, is great. And then you're shifting power. Every single time you can, you're going to want to press shifting power, because this is helping us get not only the majority of our CDs back, especially our short ones, but this is helping us get back to our combust window faster. And when you use your combust window and they pop a defensive, if you get good shifting powers off, you're going to be able to get your combust back up before their defensives, which is going to allow you to land those kills. And then I'm not going to go into detail these here, but of course with Mage, and especially in Arena, outside your big goes and when you don't have healers locked down with your partners, you're going to be using all the Mage utility to kite and survive and set up your goes. So you're going to be using your Polymorph in the downtime. You're going to be using your Frost Nova to root the targets, Cone of Cold to slow them, Ice Nova to root. You're going to be blinking. You're going to be Dragon's Breathing the enemy, putting a ring onto them. A lot of these are used to set up your goes, but unfortunately, and actually the best thing about PvP is that it doesn't always go your way. So these have multiple uses on the offensive and the defensive, so just keep that in mind. But I wanted to give you a bit of clarity and a little bit of constructive ideas of what you're looking to do in your downtime, because if you get the complete package of this is my burst, and then in the downtime, oh, okay, it's still important to refresh this to get these abilities out. Oh, using Phoenix Flame is a great idea when they're cleaved up here. I'll save my Fireblast because we're about to get a CC go. Oh, I'm out of juice and they were almost about to die. Could have double Scorch for that extra execute damage. I didn't know about that. That's kind of how I learned when PHERIX told me that stuff, and I'm trying to articulate everything that I've learned to you guys. And then mixing in that shifting power is huge, and the Ring of Fire damage, do not underestimate it, guys. So that's what it looks like in the downtime for Fire Mage. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to quickly walk you through the CC so that's top of mind, and when you dive into the arenas or into the rated battlegrounds, you guys make sure that you get this going, okay? The first thing that we want to talk about is your counterspell. This is how you lock out healers who are casting, get them their heal locked out, and then go for the kill. You can also use counterspell on a big cooldown like Chaos Bolt if it's about to kill your teammate. Ideally, it's used for CCing a healer or a kill target. Maybe you want to lock another mage out and he can't ice block or something like that, but typically on the healer. The next thing I want to talk about is your Dragon's Breath, which is a disorient that causes them to walk around and is most likely used when you watch other streamers or any competitors with a Ring of Frost out of it. This can be really strong on enemy healers. This can be really strong to peel for yourself or your teammates versus the DPS. And then, of course, we have Polymorph. But you can see that on my DR tracker here, if I cast a Polymorph right now, it won't be the full 7 seconds because Polymorph has the same DR as Ring of Frost. So I'm going to wait a second and instead talk about slow. Applying slow to the target to slow them is extremely strong. Making sure in your downtime you use Frost Nova, Cone of Cold to slow, and Ice Nova is actually quite a large range, is extremely strong. And then you can see Polymorph is going to be your strongest CC because it has no cooldown and you can just use it the entire arena over and over on DPS and healers. The last thing I want to show you is sometimes you'll disorient and you'll put a Ring of Frost out and you'll miss it. Blast Wave has a knockback that you can actually use to knock melee, but you'll see that I knocked him and he actually gets frozen. So if you ever miss your ring, you could blink in, you could use your Blast Wave to push them into that ring and force them into your CC. So keep in mind that Mage has some really strong CC. You're going to be looking to set it up to CC a healer and kill a DPS, or to CC DPS while you're kiting and waiting for your cooldowns to come back up. Okay, guys, so I want to talk about the Mage's top 2 utilities and their 3 top defensives. The first utility we're going to talk about is Altar of Time. And what Altar of Time does is I'm going to press it, and it's going to leave an image of my guy. And when I press it again, I'm going to go back to where that image was at the health that I pressed it at. So I'm going to alter here, and Grip Hunt's going to start hitting me now. And you can see my character faintly on the right. He's doing a lot of damage to me. I can press it at any time. When I press it and go back, I go back to the 100% HP. There's going to be a weak ore for that later on. Weak ore has a lot of utility for jumping off platforms, and then when they come down, you can teleport back up. A lot of really good uses for Altar of Time. Now you can see Altar of Time's on cooldown for 25 seconds. Shifting Power is going to do damage, but it's actually used when you're kiting away so that it doesn't get kicked. And you're going to see that every channel of Shifting Power takes a chunk of time off of Altar of Time. It does that for all your mage abilities. So you're going to be looking to use Shifting Power throughout the game to get your abilities back, to get your combust back up before the enemy's defensives. And then the 3 defensives for mage are Mirror Image, which summons images, and while they're active, you get a 20% damage reduction. The images themselves, unfortunately, don't do much damage, so you're using it for the 20% wall. With the talent, read here, Greater Invisibility, it turns our Greater Invis into a 60% damage wall. So when I pop it, damage taken reduced by 60%. Okay? And then, of course, we have Ice Block, which is going to put us into a block of ice, and we can't take any damage while we're in it. And if we want to get out of it now that we're safe, we can click it again to get back out of the ice block. These are the 5 abilities from the utility and the defensives that you guys need to know about and be using on Fire Mage. Okay, guys, so as we're doing our hot streak burst, you know, as we're getting 2 crits into a Pyroblast, Hypothermia, it's the bottom right talent of our fire tree. And what it does is we have a chance to get 5 free Pyroblasts in a row. And with the weak ore I'm about to show you, I'm combining the weak ore section with the Hypothermia tech together here. With the weak ore that I'm about to show you, this is what's going to happen. As soon as you get the Hypothermia proc, because it's so random, you're going to have this really cool effect that goes around your character with the weak ore. And that's alerting to you that we can press Pyroblast for 5 seconds for free. So right here, you're going to see, I was just farming it for the video. So that's why I was just pressing random buttons. But watch what happens now as I press play. You can see my timer's ticking out the weak ore, and I'm able to just press Pyroblast, 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 Pyroblast. So you do not want to miss these windows. And I talked earlier about how there is a sort of a set rotation for fire, but when Hypothermia kicks in, you throw it out the window and you get your free Pyroblast, and in that time your charges are coming back from other abilities. So it's important to know about it early. I think this weak ore that PHERIX got us is absolutely insane, because as soon as it comes up, you're going to get that cool ring effect that's going to alert you, and it's going to let you know just how many you have around your character. It's going to look just like this. So weak ore is down below in the description. That's the Hypothermia proc. That's the strength of it. Really quickly, I'll just show you. It's down here at the bottom right if you want to give it a read. Hypothermia, when that comes into the rotation, you got to be cranking those Pyroblasts at them, okay? All right, guys, we're going to go through the Precog weak ore and the Altar of Time weak ore, okay? So I got Grip Hunt, a good buddy of mine. He's helping me out. What we're going to do is the PvP talent Precog, you're going to be looking to juke a lot of kicks, a lot of times with Polymorph. You're going to cast a Polymorph, assuming the enemy's going to want to stop that Polymorph. So you're going to stop casting, and at that moment, when they kick you, you'll gain a stack of Precog. And it's very important to track your Precog, because you get 15% haste, and you're immune to any further CC for 5 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and Polymorph here and then stop. I'm going to poly and stop, and he's going to kick me. You're going to see I have the Precog buff, and the weak ore is going to show it here. So that's how you guys can track your Precog. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to press Altar of Time, and then Grip Hunt's going to cast Hunt on me right now. And you can see my health's dropping, but it shows my Altar of Time. I pressed it at 100%. So when I go back, Altar of Time, of course, makes me to 100. Now, the reason the Altar of Time weak ore is good, because when you alter at, say, 40% or 30%, knowing the percentage when you alter back lets you play your next move out. Sometimes in the heat of battle, you can't remember if you pressed it at 80 or 30 or 60, but when you know, okay, I pressed it at 80, when I alter back, I'll be pretty safe, or, oh no, I pressed it at 37%, I'm going to need to use an ability or get help from my team. It's really strong to track that. So go ahead, import those 2 weak auras below, and make sure you take full advantage of them. Okay, guys, so we talked about a high burst rotation, and we talked about a consistent damage rotation, but the other change you can make lies in the talent tree right here, going between Ice Floes and Shimmer. So I'm going to walk you through both of them. The first one is Ice Floes, and you get 3 charges of it, and when you cast Ice Floes, you can move while you cast a spell like Polymorph here. You can walk and cast. The other thing is when Grip gets out of this Polymorph, he's going to stun me. And when you take Ice Floes, you can blink stuns with the Ice Flow build, okay? So I just need to let this, or I can Shifting Power right here very quickly and get these abilities back. I'm going to swap to Shimmer now, apply those changes, and show you what it looks like with Shimmer. So Ice Floes you can cast, you have 3 charges while you're moving, and blink the stuns. With Shimmer, you're going to get 2 charges of blink, and you can cast while shimmering. So if Grip stands right there, what I can do is I can start casting a Polymorph, and I can click my blink once or twice if I want to. So if I'm doing a casting damage, I could blink and keep doing damage. Or a lot of the times you're going to see PHERIX, he's going to cast a Polymorph, and he's going to shimmer once and twice to get the Polymorph off. So this is another thing PHERIX said as preference. He prefers Shimmer, but it's more min-maxing. It's more high skill cap, where sometimes just being able to blink a stun is really going to be helpful. But then again, having double blink is extremely helpful. Being able to cat, really, it's a back and forth here. So we wanted to explain to you both of them and let you know where you can make those changes, and let you guys know that the fun part about WoW is it's up to you guys. So those are the 2 preferences. Both are really strong in their own ways. Go give them a shot and let us know which ones you guys enjoy the most. So I just quickly wanted to touch on the PvP talent Cauterize. A lot of people know about this, but not everybody might. Cauterize is basically Mage's cheat death. It's going to proc, and it's going to burn your percentage. It's going to bring you up to a certain amount of health, and it's going to burn you back down, but you will stay alive if you took no damage. But unique to Mage is its cheat death also speeds you up, so you can make some crazy plays. So Grip Hunt's going to go ahead and murder me here, and you're going to see as soon as I drop to 0 health, I'm going to get Cauterized, and I'm going to show you just how fast you move and how it helps you stay alive, so you can get Kite away or Kite offensively. And you can see right here, I'm faster than a mount. I'm burning for my HP with the cheat death, but not dying with Cauterize. It's extremely fun. What it allows you to do is you never need to panic Ice Block on fire, because you know your Cauterize is there to save you. And when you Cauterize, then you know if you need to Ice Block, or if in that moment you can speed away and your teammates can heal you up. But just wanted to touch on that. Cauterize has a lot of different utilities, and it's going to save your life more than once. So one of the tricks you can do as Fire Mage is when you're casting Shifting Power, which is resetting your abilities, because Fireblast is off the global, while you're shifting, you can throw it a cheeky Fireblast on a kill target, on a totem, on a Psy Fiend, whatever you need to do. So right here, I'm going to show you, I'm going to triple Fireblast just to put them all on CD, okay? Then what I'm going to do while I'm Shifting Power is as one recharges, I cast it, and then you can see it comes back up again. So Fireblast has a lot of utility, and a lot of the times when you're Shifting Power, you can throw in that cheeky Fireblast, because Shifting Power is just going to bring you another charge right back. Okay, so I don't have the perfect example to show you on screen, but you're going to have to bear with me here. The secret tech I want to show you is while you're casting a Polymorph, you can actually get a Fireblast off. So if you're casting a Polymorph and somebody drops like a Grounding Totem's Shaman's ability, it absorbs all the AoE. When you're casting the Poly, you can actually Fireblast the totem. So the way I'm going to show you here is I'm going to just cast a Poly onto Grip and Fireblast them to show you how they synergize. So while I'm casting a Poly, you can see right there, I Fireblasted him first. So what I want to highlight is there's a ton of different uses for Fireblast, because it's off the global, killing totems, chunking a Psy Fiend, and you can use it when you're setting up your CC. You could use it to get your hot streak going, right? You're getting a Poly onto the healer, you know it's going to connect. You could already throw a Fireblast into your kill target to ramp up that hot streak, okay? So please keep in mind that Fireblast being off the GCD has a lot of strong uses. I don't know them all. Hopefully you can tell me about another couple in the comments below. Okay guys, so we're just going to cover one macro, and that's your combustion macro. You can see I've labeled it DPS over here to signify that it's DPS. What it is it's combustion, Blood Fury if you're Orc, and your badge. PHERIX always runs the badge when he plays Fire Mage, and the reason, I thought this was really cool, /use 13 means that it'll use whatever's in the 13th slot, which is right here, the badge. So instead of having to change your badges or any other trinkets, you can actually just put use 13. So another reason I wanted to show that. And then you'll see when I click the macro, my badges use my combustion. And if you were an orc, you could add that in there as well. So just a simple macro, a little bit of tech on the use 13 and what that means for you guys from PHERIX. Okay, guys, World of Warcraft lets you be really creative with all these amazing add-ons that got downloaded that you can download, you can customize, you can have your screen look like anything. But it's really important that your screen is clean and it gets you the information you need. It's like driving a car. If your windshield's dirty, you can still kind of drive, but you have to drive slower and more carefully. But when your windshields are down or when your windshields are clean, you can be moving around just like you need to. And the same is true with the PvP add-ons. Instead of posting the add-ons in this guide, I've made a separate PvP add-ons video. It's doing extremely well. I've broken down all the add-ons that I use very cleanly for you. It'll be in the link below. Go check that out after this video and make sure your add-ons are set up extremely well because it'll make a huge difference in your World of Warcraft game. So the best races for Fire Mage are Human for double proc trinket, Night Elf for their Shadow Meld ability that can be used at a high skill gap to Shadow Meld a lot of offensive abilities on yourself. If a Chaos Bolt's coming, you can Shadow Meld it. The Chaos Bolt won't get off. If a Storm Bolt's in the air, you can Shadow Bolt it, meld it. You won't get stunned, just as some examples. And Orc for toughness, just having that flat stun duration. But I want to say that half the fun of World of Warcraft, honestly, is really loving your character. And unless you're pushing high tier, top end content, you can get away without needing the best racial. However, when you do get up there, having one of those 3 racials really will make a difference. So it is important we cover it. All right, I've had some huge success with this secret tech I'm about to show you. PHERIX's top 3 Fire Mage comps on the finest software available, the Notepad. At number 1, Fire Mage, Sub Rogue, Disc Priest. At the 2 spot, Fire, Shadow Priest, Resto Druid. And third, and still solid, Fire, Arms, and Disc Priest. These are the 3 comps PHERIX suggests striving to play with because the Sub Rogue CC setup with the single target burst on Fire is insane. The Shadow Priest cross CC with the fire damage is insane. And Arms Warrior plugging away is just almost good with anything, especially Fire Mage. So give these comps a shot and let us know what you think.
Dorito.
Dorito? Oh.
Yeah, him and his 19 Windwalkers.
It's literally got so many Windwalkers, man.
He has like 10 in the top 50.
Really? Yeah, it's a lot. Hitting eye.
Sure.
I'm running.
Not a DK mistake.
I'm going
Go
DH.
hard.
Ready?
Sure.
Yep.
I
Just
need
got
to
shot.
reload. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, go
I
DH,
just
go DH.
rung. Yeah. He reverses. It's fine. He flies in the air now.
Yes.
Time dilated. You want to go healer?
Yes.
Okay.
Now?
Yep. Ends it. I'll knock him late. Knock him late.
I got
Nice.
cage. Not trinket.
Nothing.
Here. Dead.
Yeah.
You can lay.
Yeah, my bam, bam.
You died?
He dies.
Yes. I need help. Actually,
I don't.
Yeah.
I spam blind DR. Fuck.
That's crazy. Try TPS.
We can kill the edge while he's on DR. We're a lot.
Sure. I just block. I block. Guy's gonna hold his demon too. Tiny block heal.
I'm fear.
Uh
You
oh.
have altar. Maybe DB.
Altar. No DB. Send.
Gouge one.
Oh, pretty nether. Altar back.
I'll kill it now. I'm
Okay.
gonna send now.
Good.
Oh.
Ooh.
Shoot him.
Trying to get a shield. One global. Okay.
Line.
Lining. Eating. Oh,
One is some. Nothing up. Okay.
the pets are gonna kill me, man. The fuck is that? Oh my god. Okay. Oh.
Ignore.
Nice up block. Are you ready?
Mm.
Let me know.
Yeah, you're good.
Can you healer? I'm gonna hit healer here, okay?
Sure.
Get
Okay.
more.
Yep. DB off.
Double.
DB trinket. Kill. Oh,
Yeah,
baby.
nice V, nice V, nice V, nice V. I trinket there. Careful. I
Got
don't
him,
have trinket
baby.
here.
I'm out of there.
Silence me. Good.
Look. I can look,
Yeah.
I can look. I will end the look. You'll see his shrinky.